Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined by the Eddie Mercado. Eddie, UFC Singapore, thoughts on the event of
An-
this Saturday morning?
Another one of these overproducing cards that on paper look like I want nothing to do with it. Well, not me, but I guess the casual fan. I'm personally was happy, but man, did
What were you
this?
happy about on this card? Like, were you just rubbing your hands at the thought of Colby Covington versus RDA?
I'm a huge Colby Covington fan, so
Well, he's
absolutely
made
that
some
was.
wins, although he's not that entertaining.
He's dominant. I like dominant guys and guys who know they're dominant, and
We'll
we'll
clip that
talk this
out,
shit.
put it on your Tinder. Uh,
What's Tinder?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. So yeah, Covington gave a good performance, but Holly Holm, big
Oh
KO
man.
kick.
Oh man, what a beautiful head kick. And the fight was a dud up until that point. Like it had to have that kind of finish just to save the card. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah,
card
I
was
mean
like,
Holly Holm lulled Betchkahea into a sense of somnambulance and did the same thing to the fans. And then when she was drowsing, just leaning over and boom, head kick, and that's that. Third round,
yeah.
minute 9.
I thought it was gonna happen sooner. I thought she was gonna get the head kick a little bit earlier.
Well, you can see
Kalea's
her
always
if you're
Kalea just
watching.
has that weird footwork. She's so like irky jerky and just not
Yeah,
smooth.
and Holly's very cautious. There were 2 or 3 times I saw her loading up that kick and then not pull the trigger, and I was getting really frustrated. I was like, pull the trigger. And finally, I mean, because it was wide open and she just took it. I mean, good for Holly Holm to get back on the winning boards. It's been a long, long ass time since she knocked out Honda Housey. Three straight losses. Now she's back. Is she really back? What's next? Where do we go from here?
That's the tough thing is she had like such a weird 3 losses in a row, like really underwhelming performances, and uh, I don't know. It's hard. You know what? For the first 2 rounds, I was thinking to myself, I cannot believe she's the headliner. Like, why is Holly Holm headlining this event? But shit, she gets a spectacular head kick knockout. You know,
Yep.
and I mean, you can put her up against anybody really, and you're going to get the same thing out of her. Ronda's not probably coming back, so I don't even know why she's in the top 5. You got
Yeah.
Rocky Pennington, you got Juliana Pena.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a wasteland. I mean, Holm will be moving up, but I don't know. It's not like there's any fights I'm dying to see her in.
and that's the thing is like, how close is she to a title shot coming off of 3 losses? She gets a spectacular head kick knockout, which she didn't look impressive in up until the moment.
Yeah, I mean, well, all that matters is the knockout. So and her profile. So they'll definitely try to shoehorn her in to a title shot as soon as possible. But I mean, I think Shevchenko is that booked? She got a title shot
Yeah,
booked.
she's about to fight Nunes.
Yes.
But the thing about that is Shevchenko already fought Holly Holm.
Yeah, and it was not.
It was a lackluster decision. So I mean, I don't want to see that again. I wouldn't want my enemies to have to watch that fight again.
Yeah,
And
it
it
was
was
painful. It was
so she's
painful.
kind of
But
in
I
a
don't
tough
think.
spot.
Do you think? I mean, I think Nunes handles Shevchenko, don't you?
I think so. Shevchenko gives me this weird feeling that she has something for Nunes, but Nunes is a savage. With all due respect, she's
Yeah,
tough to
she
get.
really is, and she's not going to put up with any of this dancing around with Holly Holm crap. If Holm, because what I think is going to happen is Nunez is going to just blast Shevchenko, and then I think there'll be a fairly quick rush to get Holly Holm back in the title fight, just because Holly Holm has a little bit of name ID. They'll squeeze the Ronda Rousey rag one last time, and
You think
try to get.
so?
Yeah, dude, they are desperate. They are desperate. I mean,
But is Ronda desperate? That's the thing.
Ronda won't have anything to do with it. They'll just run the highlights of Holly knocking her out again and try to get Holly booked on the View and stuff like that, and and just pretend that the last 2 years didn't happen. And Holly's rolling straight off. They'll run highlights of Nunes blasting Honda, and then they'll run highlights of Holm blasting Honda, and that'll be that, you know, and they'll just we'll pretend nothing's happened other than that. And this is the fight to crown the new Honda Housey.
What? I think I'd like to see Holly Holm and Kat Zingano get it on.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I think Kat will pressure her a lot more than Holly's really comfortable with, but I think that would derail a Holly Holm title shot. Like, I think Kat takes that, and Kat is not – they can't hype a Kat Zingano-Amanda Nunes fight half as much as they can hype a Holly Holm. If I was the WME, I would shield Holly Holm from Kat Zingano with everything. I'd put Ari Emanuel's body chained to the gate before I'd let that fight happen. But
Zingano does have a win over Nunes, which has its own sort of intrigue to it. But Zingano's been kind of absent from the spotlight. Yeah,
to say the least. And in her most high-profile fight, she got torqued. So, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see that fight too, but I just you got to think big picture, Eddie. Big money. This is the Mayweather-McGregor era. We're like, what kind of garbage can we get on there to trick yokels into giving us money? And, think big, Eddie. Think big. This is the Trump era.
It's just hard with the female bantamweight division. I mean, it's like she's already faced Rocky Pennington. She's already faced Shevchenko.
I'm telling you, it's
rematch city unless she goes the other way in the rankings.
Yeah, well, I think there's nothing in it for Holm to fight down, and I think she just needs to wait and see how the Nunes-Shevchenko fight goes. And if Shevchenko beats Nunes, oh my God, they're going to be in such a hurry to get her away from that belt. I mean, they'll definitely try throwing Holm at her.
Well, no, they'll do an instant rematch. I'm almost positive.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because that Holm-Shevchenko fight, oh my God, that was heinous. But let's run through the rest of the card real quick, because this card, frankly, doesn't merit a great deal of our time. But we've already spent hours on it on Saturday morning. So in the co-main event, Marcin Tybura.
If I could real fast, I figured it out. The UFC is going for the elder demographic. So they put on these early 4:30 a.m. cards, and we get Kid Nate showing up.
That's right. I had my constitutional, did a little gardening. Got up. I was up already with the kids and out in the garden, and had some coffee and a good poop, and just sat down to watch the fights. I didn't start till the main card, and then I just caught up with the undercard on Fight Pass. The beauty of Fight Pass is you can compress 3:45 a.m. to 7 a.m. into 8 to 8:45 a.m. I just zipped right through. I took a look at every fight, but
hashtag technology.
Exactly. It was a beautiful thing. But back to the co-main event. Marcin Tybura lays and prays Andrei Arlovski to unanimous decision win, 29-28, 28-27, 29-27. Arlovski had his moments in the second round, but I mean, this was.
I wouldn't call it a lay and pray. I mean, that first round, Tybura was landing plenty of ground and pound. I mean,
it's true. But the third round, the deciding round, he was gassed. Arlovski was gassed. He gets the takedown, and that's that.
It was tough, and I wanted nothing more to see Arlovski pull out this slick armbar from guard, but there's just no way that shit's gonna happen.
Not happening.
And tough break for him. That's 5 straight losses for Arlovski.
It's time for Arlovski. I mean, some might say it's time for Arlovski to retire. How's that? Since we're not allowed to call for fighters to retire because, fans. But, I mean, I've seen Arlovski. He's had some great moments. He's had some low points, but he hasn't had a win since 2015. And he's just getting hurt out there and taking damage. And, we've seen enough of I mean, he's put on a string of defeats. In fights, he really had nothing. He had a good fight against Josh Barnett, but that was a year ago. And since then, he's just getting – I mean, Francis Ngannou and Marcin Tybura, these are guys who are making a name off Arlovski, but,
It's tough to watch. And it's crazy that you can lose 4 straight by finish and still be the number 8 guy in the world. What's up with that? These rankings are crazy.
Yeah, they are a tad crazy. I mean, it's the heavyweight division, man. I mean, it's a shit show. There's not that many great athletes. And the guys that are up there, I mean, Mark Hunt's up there. I mean, still going strong, just retired, the Black Beast.
Actually, no. Lewis came back and said he was not going to retire.
He's not going to retire. Well, that's good news. Derek Lewis is somebody I have not seen enough of, and Mark Hunt's somebody I haven't seen enough of. But Andrei Arlovsky, I've seen enough of, and Marcin Tybura came into this fight ranked number 13. I mean, wow, you're getting up into heady Stefan Struve country at this point. It's like the rarefied air, and I could see him beating Struve, maybe. I could also see him getting murked by Struve. I think if it's Tim Johnson.
Well, Struve's about to fight Alexander Volkov, which is interesting. Two gigantic, tall people. But Tybura actually dropped he lost to Tim Johnson, I believe, in his debut.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think that was a whole different Marcin Tybura.
He actually called out Dan Hardy in his post-fight interview, which I thought was hilarious.
Dan Hardy didn't want any part of that. All right. And then we talked about Colby Covington dominating Don Young Kim. Unanimous decision, 30-25 on one card, 30-26, 30-27. This was just a statement about where NCAA All-Americans rank versus pretty good judo players. I mean, it's not like Don Young Kim was a world-renowned judo player, but he's pretty damn good for MMA in his judo game, and Covington just wasn't having it. Just stuffed everything.
Covington's a stud.
He's pretty good.
This was a huge coming out party for him. I mean, this is going to catapult him right into the top 10.
You can get on Fight Pass at 6 a.m. I mean, Eastern time. Like let's not get carried away. This was nothing on this card was a huge anything for anybody. I mean,
well, no, that was definitely a huge win, taking him from unranked into the top 10. That's massive. It
was a big win, but it's not high profile. I mean, people are gonna have to be informed that this fight happened.
Yeah, the masses won't care, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
divisional relevancy, major.
Yeah, definitely. And Stun Gun has a bit of a name. I mean, he's fought some named fighters. He's had some wins. People know who Stun Gun is. So that's definitely the most impressive thing on Covington's resume. But we'll see. I mean, is he going to be a real force in the division, or is he going to be one of these grapplers that tops out? Is he the next Neil Magny, is what I'm saying. I mean, put together a flashy looking winning streak because they don't want to let you anywhere near a title shot. And then when you fight those top 3-4 guys, you just get blasted. I'm not seeing, I don't know. We'll have to see if Covington can up his striking game considerable.
Yeah, it's definitely been improving. He's starting to hurt people and land more significantly and not looking so wild out there with the strikes and kind of just throwing whatever he thinks might work. He's starting to seem a lot more confident and concise with what he wants to do out there. And he's calling dudes out. That's huge. That's
big. That's big. And training with Jorge Masvidal is definitely gonna improve his game. And then in the opener on the main card, we had Rafael Dos Anjos, a former lightweight champ, making his welterweight debut. Decisions: Tarek Safa Dean, 30-27, twice, 29-28 on the final judges card. Not the most thrilling fight.
Damn, homie. In Strike Force, you was the man, homie. The fuck happened to you?
Well, he's fighting tougher competition. And an RDA, I mean, he couldn't turn it into a grappling match. And Safa Dean acquitted himself pretty well when it was on the ground. But RDA is a pretty good striker. And Safa Dean is not aggressive enough to coast on his striking in the UFC.
He was rendered defensive for a large chunk of this fight. And you just can't win that way. Like, he was never allowed an opportunity to think for one moment, how can I turn this fight around? He was just never given the chance. And credit to RDA. He looked great moving up to welterweight.
He looked real solid. I'd love to see RDA versus Matt Brown at some point. That would be.
Ooh, man. I don't like Matt Brown's chances in that. He's been on a slump lately.
I know, but there's other guys in welterweight that I think are just too big for RDA. But we'll see. Gunnar Nelson versus RDA might be fun too.
Yeah, Kamaru Usman would be interesting as well.
Yeah, but if I was RDA, I wouldn't have anything to do with that. You're a former champion. Don't take a fight against a guy with no name value. All right, then on the prelim card, we had many moments of sads for Takanori Gomi. as John Tuck choked him out in a minute 12 of the first round. It didn't look competitive at all. Gomi hasn't even looked competitive in a long-ass time. I mean, the Fireball Kid, once upon a time, the undisputed #1 lightweight in the world for years, has just been a ghost of himself since 2014 at least.
It's
Really?
sad, man. That's 4 straight first-round finishes. It's like you're not even trying. He hasn't even made it to the minute number 3 in 4 straight fights.
I know. And I mean, and he's making no secret that he's training with Sakuraba at the bar. I mean, it doesn't put the cigarette pack down for very long at any
The
moment.
old shot workout.
Yeah. And it's sad to see him go out like this, man. This is a guy who really tasted glory back in the Pride days and beat some of the great names of the sport, put on an incredible multi-year winning streak, and just really honestly hasn't been the same since they sold Pride. I mean, he never really recovered from that. Had a couple of good moments in the UFC, but I mean, we should give John Tuck some credit. He did what he had to do. He went out there, he hit him, beat him down, submitted him. Big win for Tuck.
Huge win for Tuck. He looked amazing. He looked absolutely amazing. And he definitely needed that win because he was coming off of 2 straight losses himself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, moves him to 4-4.
When Gomi is being used to build a guy who's riding in on a 2-fight losing streak, it's just time to go, man. I mean, you're not building tomorrow's young lions. You're just marking time against journeyman. I mean, and that's
just finishing out a contract.
Maybe so, but they've been happy to cut people with fewer losses. The old, I mean, this is very different than the old WME, than the old Zuffa, where you knew pretty much if a guy loses 3 in a row, he's looking at getting cut. And now I have no idea what's going to, they're cutting guys off wins. They're cutting guys off 2 losses. They're letting guys go with 4 losses. I mean, they're holding on to guys with 4 losses. It's crazy town. I do not understand. I'm sure there's a business rationale behind it, but it makes no sense to me. Then you had a heavyweight Walt Harris beat Cyril Asker first round, minute 44. Pretty classic beatdown. I mean, slow lumbering dudes, first guy to connect.
I thought Walt looked good, man. He's got so much talent and potential. When he puts everything together, he's a force to deal with. Like, he is a huge force to deal with. Even in his last fight against Chase Sherman, he hit this insane Mortal Kombat combination, included a pimp smack in it too. I mean, this guy's got some really good talent. And for this fight, he actually got away from American Top Team a little bit and actually got some more focused training sessions with his coaches and stuff. So he might, creep towards that top 15.
Well, in heavyweight, I mean, if a few guys retire, boom, he's there.
Yeah, really. I mean, it doesn't take much to rise at heavyweight.
No.
And what kind of depressed me a little bit was how, he's begging for a bonus in his post-fight interview. Like, I hate the way that looks. Like, these are professional athletes. Why are they begging for money?
Because they're payless.
Pay these guys.
Pay the man, Danny. Yeah, it's sad. But then featherweight Alex Casseras, Bruce Leroy put a beating on Rolando Dy. Doctor stoppage after 2 rounds of just one-sided abuse.
Alex Casseras needed a showcase. I don't think I've ever seen him look so dominant in a win.
No, I mean, and it says a lot about his opponent more than him, I think. I mean, because he was doing the same sloppy-ass shit he always does. It's just it was working. I mean, nobody was there to capitalize on his mistakes, so he's just teeing off, and he looked pretty good, I got to admit. But, I mean,
he looked like he was having fun, which I like to see.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It's funny because he was like, oh, he dropped D, or is it Die? Is it D?
It's Die, I think.
Die. He dropped Die and went for a choke. It didn't work out. He took the back, worked for the rear naked choke. The round ends. In between rounds, John Crouch was like, hey, if you follow him to the ground, just focus on the ground and pound, which is a nice way of saying, stop trying to fucking submit this dude. You're wasting time and energy. You're going to blow it. Pound this guy out and get him out of here.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That should have been a finish. That should
Yeah.
have been a finish.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure if we'd just gotten to see the cards, there would have been some 10-7 rounds out there, maybe a 10-6. I mean, that was a very one-sided fight. Then before that, you had flyweight Oka Sasaki come back from what had been a very one-sided beating on the hands of Justin Scoggins for a second round rear naked choke submission, 3 minutes 19 seconds. I mean, Scoggins was looking great. He was teeing off. He was getting takedowns. He's opens. Was the fight that opened with the suplex?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, opens up with a big suplex, was landing spinning kicks and all kinds of shit, but just did not want to go to the ground with Sasaki and pay the price, man. I mean, he did want to go to the ground, but it was ill-advised.
Yeah, Scoggins was doing everything. He even landed, or he didn't land, but he whiffed this wheel kick and then followed up with the cross that actually it dropped Oka, and he had it. Like, you had it.
Yeah,
and he screwed the pooch.
He totally screwed the pooch. But I think Scoggins can learn from this. And he's young, and I doubt that he's expensive. But you know, this is 4 losses in his UFC career, so I think he's good for another couple fights. But this was definitely his fight to win, and definitely, you know, a learning experience. And for Sasaki, I mean, he shows he's got heart and he's got some skills on the ground, but he's got a lot to work on.
He's exciting, though. He's definitely exciting and a showman. So
yeah,
he'll definitely be sticking around in exciting fights.
Yeah, we'll see. And then at welterweight, we had Li Jinglang, the Leech, beat Frank Camacho, unanimous decision, 29-27, 28-27, 29-27. Camacho came out and was just pasting him.
Yeah, he came out looking like the old Militich guy, Drew McFedries. You remember him?
I do remember Drew McFedries. I have not thought about him in quite some time.
Yeah, he was the guy that had the Crohn's disease for a bit. But same kind of style, just come out throwing bolos right off tip and then gas out in the second and third.
Yeah, and those leg kicks that the Leech was landing contributed as well. I mean, he just kind of, you could just see the life getting sapped out of him, and Camacho shot his wad. And the Leech is not a guy to go all in on the early knockout on. Like this, the Leech is made out of leather. And so, you know, I wasn't really expecting a finish, but it was clear that the Leech was dominant, and I was glad he got the decision because it was not a given on this card. We'll get to that.
I thought Lee was going to die in the first round. He was getting hit so hard and so cleanly. I was really surprised he was able to recover and come back to win it.
Yeah, I mean, the kid is tough. The kid is extremely tough, and I look forward to seeing him again. Although I don't really see him. He has a pretty low ceiling in the welterweight division, I think.
Probably so, but he's an action fighter all the way. He's must-see TV. You have to watch the Leech.
Absolutely. Then you had bantamweight Russell Doan knockout Kwon Ho Kwok, first round, 4 minutes 9 seconds. Dominant performance from Doan.
Much needed. He definitely needed this. And Kwok came out looking really good, really composed and focused. But
yeah, I mean, and the leg kicks were looking sharp. All kinds of kicks were looking sharp, and he really just let his guard down for a second. And Down's got some pop in those fists.
Yeah, the fist of fury, man. He just flurried on him, and it proved to be too much. And he'll probably get a new contract off of this.
One would hope, but you never know. Then catchweight, 131-pound fight was supposed to be a flyweight fight. But Carlos John de Thomas didn't make weight, and he lost to Maokai anyway. Unanimous decision, 30-26 across the boards. Yeah, early fight goes to decision. This is people who are getting up at 3:45 a.m. for this could not have been thrilled with this bout. That was
really, I actually enjoyed it.
It was skilled, but I mean, a 3-round decision in a fight where the dude misses weight is just it's demoralizing to be getting up that early. I mean, you're young and dumb. I applaud you.
It was good. I liked it in no way. He was real crafty and just wise beyond the years. The dude's like 20 years old, and he's out here hitting these transitions and chaining these submissions together. I mean, it was really fun to watch. I thought it was an excellent way to eat my steak and eggs.
Oh, that's not a bad start to the day. And then in the opener, Lucy Pudlova decisioned Ji Young Kim. Unanimous decision, but I don't know what fights the judges were watching because everybody I saw had it for Kim.
Really? I had it for Pudlova. I had it 29-28 for Pudlova. I gave Pudlova the first round because I felt like she was jabbing the shit jabbing the absolute shit out of Kim, like her life depended on it. So that was scoring in my eyes. This was also 4:45 in the morning. So
it was, and it was a pretty low output fight.
Well, the second I gave to Kim, she was really letting her hands go. Really beautiful uppercut. But then the third round, I definitely gave it to Lobo. She had multiple guillotine attempts. She was closer to finishing the fight, trying to finish the fight. I gave it to Lobo.
All right. Well, I watched some fast forward, so I can't really argue. But I got to say, Anton Tabuena had it all the way for Kim. So, but back to Holm, Betchkahea. Big knockout. Not a great
knockout. Much needed knockout, but kind of puts her in a. Is she going to be like a new gatekeeper to the top 5, where she's only going to get people outside of the top 5 now? Are they going to try to push her towards another title shot?
I think her profile is too high. I mean, that division used to be such a moneymaker, and I don't think that they can afford to keep Holm as a gatekeeper. If there's any path to a title shot, they got to push Holm down that path. Although I think Amanda Nunes blasts her personally.
But, yeah, probably. I think Nunes can just plant her feet and just punch right through all the technical frizzle that Holm is known for.
Yeah, and I don't see Holm catching her with the high kick, or picking her apart like she did Ronda Rousey at all. So anyway, anything else to add?
Just go be a good person. That's all I ask.
Wonderful advice. I'll tell the Trump administration to get right on that. MAGA, baby. MAGA. All right, Eddie. Thanks for joining me on this early morning. Everybody follow us on Twitter @KidNate, @the Eddie Mercado. Read us at bloodyelbow.com. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes. Get the audio without the ugly. And I believe that's all my plugs. There's another fight next week. Is that correct?
Bellator is actually next week.
Oh, yes, the big Bellator pay-per-view is next week. We will definitely have all the fixings for that. Care, don't care preview, vivisection, 6th round, the whole bit. So stay tuned to this channel and don't miss any of the action. Adios, Eddie. Adios, MMA aficionados.